Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Brian Callahan is the Tennessee Titans' next head coach, and this is an incredible moment for Titans fans everywhere. We're breaking it down on an emergency edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
To the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Tennessee Titans fans, we did it. Let Rand cook. We have a new head coach, and it is Brian Callahan. I'm going to break down why Brian Callahan is the right man for the job, talk about why the coaching staff may be the biggest key to all of this, and talk about how big of a moment this is for the Tennessee Titans franchise. Guys, I am elated right now. We're going to dive into all of it. Before we do, thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day, Monday through Friday. Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. We just went over 10,000 subscribers. We're going to 15, baby. Thank you guys all so much. My show just came out 2 hours ago, but I am back to break down the news. Remember, I will never leave you without some Tennessee Titans content to step to, but get in the chat. Let's see the Titan ups. Get the thumbs up on the video, baby. The Tennessee Titans not only hired the right coach, but this means that the Titans are truly going into the new era, going to the modern era of the NFL. Brian Callahan, former offensive coordinator from the Cincinnati Bengals, former offensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals. Look, guys, I've been talking about Brian Callahan for a few weeks now. As the smoke began to clear, it was obvious that this was the direction the Tennessee Titans were heading. And it makes too much sense. I mean, it makes so much sense. It's hard for me to believe that our Tennessee Titans did it. It makes incredible sense after 25 years to see the team modernize the front off. I mean, we're going to get into the big picture ramifications at the end of the show. But right now, Brian Callahan, again, I'm throwing the picture back up. That is the man right there. An NFL lifer, ladies and gentlemen. A child who was raised in the NFL. Think about Bane. You were molded by the NFL. Brian Callahan was born in the NFL, molded by it. I mean, whew, man, what an incredible. So, number one, Brian Callahan, a quarterback guru. He has worked with some of the best quarterbacks that we have seen. Obviously, you know about Joe Burrow, but he also worked with Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning has vouched for this man in a major way. He was the coaching assistant for the Denver Broncos in 2010. He then moved up to an offensive quality control coach, then an offensive assistant, then a quarterback coach with the Detroit Lions. So you go from Peyton Manning to Matthew Stafford. He was the quarterback coach of the Oakland Raiders, so he worked with Derek Carr. Yeah, that's great. But then he became the offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals in 2019. He has worked with Joe Burrow, developed the Cincinnati Bengals offense into one of the best offensive systems in the entire NFL. All right? He is a former Super Bowl champion as a member of the Denver Broncos staff. I had somebody ask, what has Brian Callahan ever won? Well, he was on a Super Bowl winning team. So that has to count for something. Not only that, again, he is a child of the NFL. His father, Bill Callahan, is a longtime coach in the NFL. This guy is football. Football runs through his veins, okay? So everybody's worried about losing Mike Vrabel because he's a football guy. Brian Callahan is a football man, all right? He is a football man, an NFL man, born and bred by it. So he knows the game. He knows the business. He can relate to the players. He's seen it all. And to finally have a coach, after going through Jeff Fisher, after going through Mike Munchak, after going through Mike Mularkey, after going through Mike Vrabel, Mike after Mike after Mike, we finally have someone who is a passing game specialist, who is a quarterback whisperer, who can develop William Donovan Levis into the player that he has to be. This is phenomenal. This is incredible. Callahan, and some people ask the question, he didn't call plays. Is that a worry? He didn't call plays. I'm going to find the quote and have it ready for you tomorrow when we continue breaking this down. But Zach Taylor said it himself. I am not worried about Brian Callahan not calling plays because we built this offense together. We built the game plan. Callahan installed it for me. Every play call that Zach Taylor ever called, he has discussed intimately with Brian Callahan. Brian Callahan knows exactly how to call plays. I am not worried about that one bit, okay? So you have a quarterback guru who is a passing game specialist, who could take this offense into the modern NFL, who is an NFL child born and raised in the business, who has the ability to build an offense from the ground up. I can't believe it. I am beside myself with happiness. Not only did they hire Brian Callahan, but they didn't hire Dan Quinn. They didn't hire Aaron Glenn. They didn't hire Brian Johnson, or they didn't hire Mike Kafka. Like, there were so many bad options, and the Tennessee Titans did it right. The Tennessee Titans casted a wide net. They talked to a bunch of people. They scavenged the entire NFL world to find the best minds and interview them all. And they made the right decision. A man who is experienced. Again, a man who has grown up in the NFL. Work with Peyton Manning, Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow. Like, this is the exact thing. When I wanted the Titans to fire Mike Vrabel, I understand the pushback. I wanted the Titans to fire Mike Vrabel because I knew that if they did the right thing, they would take this team to the future. I mean, again, an offensive whiz, a quarterback guru, a former Super Bowl champion coach, even if not as a head coach, on the staff with the Denver Broncos, worked with some of the best quarterbacks of our lifetime, built the offense from the ground up in Cincinnati with Zach Taylor. I mean, this is incredible. Tighten up. Tighten up is all I have to say, man. Brian Callahan was the right man for the job that needed an offensive coach, a younger coach who's innovative. Callahan is 42 years old. Or 39 years old. 39 years old, 1984. 39 years old, offensive guru, quarterback whisperer. This is incredible. This is incredible. I mean, I don't know how you guys could not feel tremendous excitement for what this means for the team, what this means going forward. And look, it's not just Brian Callahan. The ability to create an incredible coaching staff, to build a great coaching staff. That is another thing that sets Brian Callahan apart. We're going to talk about that coaching staff and why I'm so excited, not only for the head coach, but for the coordinators, the assistants. This is an incredible, incredible day for Tennessee Titans fans. Throw a Titan up in the chat. Throw a thumbs up on the video as well. We got to talk about the Brian Callahan coaching staff here in just a moment. Before I get into it, though, I do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Look, the NFL regular season is over, but we are still in the heat of the playoffs, and that means it is a great time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use. They have money lines, spreads, over-unders, player props, single game parlays. I mean, whatever it is you want, you're going to find it on FanDuel. So make sure that you visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. fans, we have a head coach. It is Brian Callahan. I could not be more fired up if you guys couldn't tell. I got veins popping out of my forehead. I'm sweating in here. Woo! Man, look at this jacket. Nasty, baby. Oh, love this thing. Shout out to Mama. Shout out to Mama Bear. Appreciate y'all. But, man, the only thing that has me more fired up than Brian Callahan's credentials in general, which we just talked about, quarterback whisperer, incredible experience with some of the best quarterbacks we've seen, Super Bowl pedigree. He's been around Super Bowl winning teams. He is born and bred and raised in the NFL, a child of the league, outside of just Brian Callahan and the greatness that he brings himself, his coaching staff. So what has been the primary downfall of Mike Vrabel? What is the number one issue that Mike Vrabel had as a head coach? His inability to hire a great coaching staff. Mike Vrabel wanted his best friends. Mike Vrabel wanted his drinking buddies. Mike Vrabel even told us publicly that he cared most about loyalty on his coaching staff. He wanted loyal people more than talented people. And that ultimately doomed the Tennessee Titans with Todd Downing as the offensive coordinator, holding on to Craig Ackerman, Shane Bowen at defensive coordinator, promoting Jason Hottelling to offensive line coach. Mike Vrabel screwed the pooch because of his ego and wanting blind loyalists instead of talent around him. That is not what we are getting with Brian Callahan. And the good thing is, even if Brian Callahan hires people who are loyal to him, they are going to be better people and better coaches than what Mike Vrabel had. Again, Brian Callahan may not have been a player for a long time in the NFL like Vrabel, but he has been a coach in the NFL for 15 years. Man, this is incredible. And I'm going to talk about why this is one of the biggest moments in franchise history towards the end of the show. But again, not just Brian Callahan's credentials on his own, but his ability to build a coaching staff. And I would imagine that we are going to get more news on that as we go. Before I dive into what I want this coaching staff to look like, do want to thank you guys again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Nearly 1,000 people in the live right now. Thumbs up on the video, tighten up in the chat, get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. But number one, Brian Callahan's father, Bill Callahan, former head coach for the Oakland Raiders, current offensive line coach for the Cleveland Browns. I'm sorry, but it seems pretty clear that Brian Callahan should be grabbing his dad from Cleveland, making him the assistant head coach. Yeah, if the Titans just wanted to bring him over as the offensive line coach, the Cleveland Browns could block it. But if the Titans offer Bill Callahan a promotion to assistant head coach, then you bring over the best or second best offensive line coach in the entire NFL. What do the Tennessee Titans need the most, baby? Offensive line help. And you're going to bring in one of the best offensive line coaches of all time and Bill Callahan to work with his son. Make him the assistant coach, and you have no issues. Not only that, but have you guys heard lately what former Tennessee Titans head coach is interested in coming back to town? It's Mike Munchak, who also happens to be one of the best offensive line coaches in NFL history. Hire Mike Munchak back. Let him be the offensive line coach. Bring Bill Callahan over from Cleveland. Let him be the assistant head coach. Now you have two of the best offensive line minds in the history of this league, both on the same coaching staff. Oh, man, we are cooking. Not only that, but you want to talk about offensive coordinator? Let's talk about offensive coordinator, because another man who got a second interview with the Titans was Thomas Brown. Thomas Brown was the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers, and I get at the sound of that, you may go, whoa, what? Why would we want that? But Thomas Brown was the assistant head coach under Sean McVay for the Los Angeles Rams. He was their run game coordinator. He spent time as a running backs coach, as a tight end coach. So you have a running back, tight end, and run game specialist who you just did a second interview with, who comes from the same coaching tree as Zach Taylor, who just worked with Brian Callahan. Thomas Brown as the offensive coordinator makes all the sense in the world. It makes great sense. I mean, it would be an elite pairing, okay? And then you want to get to defensive coordinators. You could look at Chris Shula, a defensive coach for the Los Angeles Rams. I think Ejiro Evero, who is the defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers, who's getting head coaching interviews right now, would make a ton of sense. Dan Quinn was supposed to get a second interview. If he becomes a free agent, maybe you bring Dan Quinn in as your defensive coordinator. So let me just break this down to you guys for a second. Let's just go through this for a second and think about a basketball team. When you make a basketball team, do you want 5 centers? When you make a basketball team, do you want 5 point guards? No. You want a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward. You need a diversified profile of athletes. Think about the diversified profile of what the Tennessee Titans coaching staff could look like. Number 1, head of the snake, Brian Callahan, quarterback specialist, offensive constructor. At the top, quarterback, offense. Then, assistant head coach, Bill Callahan, former head coach who can give his son guidance, who's been there before, who also doubles as one of the best offensive line coaches of all time. So you got quarterback and offense overall. You got head coach experience and offensive line guru. Then you had Thomas Brown as your offensive coordinator. So you have Callahan, who's the passing game specialist, and then you have Thomas Brown, who is the run game specialist. So now you have quarterback, Callahan, running back, tight end, Thomas Brown, offensive line, Mike Munchak, Bill Callahan, run game, Thomas Brown, pass game, Brian Callahan. I mean, I'm beside myself with how excited I am. This is an incredible hire with what the Titans can build from a coaching staff standpoint, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And as I just said in my show that came out a couple hours ago, in 2011, Mike Munchak, when he was the coach of the Titans, tried to hire Bill Callahan away from the Jets. Like, we're putting it all together. This is an incredible collection of talent that can be assembled on the Titans coaching staff. And again, outside of Brian Callahan's credentials himself, his ability to put together the most talented coaching staff possible puts him over the top. This is incredible. I mean, this is incredible. Almost 1,000 people in the chat right now. Get your Tighten Ups in. Get your thumbs up in. Listen, we talked about why Callahan is so qualified. We talked about his coaching staff. Now I got to talk about the big picture here, folks, because this is one of the best days in Tennessee Titans history. I believe it in my bones. And I'm going to tell you why I feel that way in just a moment. Before I do, though, do want to let you guys know that today's emergency edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is presented by Gametime. Gametime is the best place to buy tickets. It is the best place you could buy tickets. Like, I'm serious. I buy all my tickets on Gametime. I bought concert tickets on Gametime. Drake concert in February. I bought basketball tickets. Lakers game in March. Baseball tickets. Cincinnati Reds game. Football tickets. Tennessee Titans game. Literally, all of the tickets I buy will forever be bought on Gametime. Why? You may ask. Why? I will tell you why. Because they have a best price guarantee. If you find tickets for cheaper in the same section and row for less, Gametime is going to credit you 110% of the difference. Not only that, but they have all-in prices. You guys know how it is when you go to buy tickets and it says it's a certain price and then you go to the checkout and they're both $60 or $70 more. Ain't happening on Game Time. And you get an accurate view from your seat. You literally know what your view is going to be from your seat. You put all those features together, you cannot beat Game Time. And right now, all users get $100 off when they buy a big game ticket with code VEGAS100. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Right now, all Game Time users get $100 off a ticket to the big game. Use code VEGAS100. Terms apply. Just download the Game Time app. Use that code VEGAS100, VEGAS100 for $100 off your ticket to the big game. Or if you're not going to that game, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Titans fans, we are going to cap off this emergency edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. The Tennessee Titans have a head coach, and it is the right move for the team. Brian Callahan is the Titans man. I could not be more excited for this hire. Number one, Brian Callahan is incredibly decorated, incredibly deserving. He absolutely is qualified for this position. Not only himself as a coach, but the coaching staff that he has the ability to put together. Absolutely phenomenal potential there. But really more than anything, this is a monumentous moment for the Tennessee Titans franchise. Like, that is, when I saw the news, I was literally eating dinner. Shout out to my lovely fiance, cooked an incredible pork tenderloin with an Asian glaze, had some smoky, sweet Brussels sprouts, some crispy Parmesan encrusted potatoes, and I had to cut my meal off in the middle because this is such big news. And I had to get down here and be with you guys, and that's always what I'm going to do, and that's why you got to get subscribed. Stay subscribed to the Locked On Titans podcast. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Just hit 10,000 subscribers. Let's get to 15,000. But again, I mean, what a massive day to be a Tennessee Titans fan. I haven't been this excited to be a Tennessee Titans fan in so long. Like, this is one of the most incredible days. So we saw it. Let's just go back. Let's get in the time machine for 1 second and go back to last offseason. I was so excited for the hire of Ran Carthon. So excited. Why? Because the Tennessee Titans, for their entire existence, had been falling behind, had been trailing the rest of the NFL in terms of data use, analytics, front office staff. The Titans were behind all of the big-time franchises in the NFL. They weren't modern. They weren't forward-thinking. They weren't proactive. They did everything old school. They had a limited staff. They had archaic ways of... John Robinson once said, I am the analytics department. And when Ran Carthon was hired, I knew this franchise is ready to change. Amy Adams Strunk. Miss Amy said, we aren't doing this old school crap anymore. We're hiring Ran Carthon. We're installing analytics and data analysis into this franchise. We are moving to the modern NFL. And Ran Carthon brought in Chad Brinker with his own IP models and his own data analysis models that he owns. Brought in Sarah Bailey to do analytics from the Los Angeles Rams, a Super Bowl winning analytics staffer. Brought in Anthony Robinson from the Atlanta Falcons. Changed the dynamic. And Mike Vrabel wasn't on board. Mike Vrabel wasn't on board with that. He wanted to keep it old school. He wanted control. He wanted roster power. And despite him being a good coach, Miss Amy said, this ain't good enough. Good ain't good enough. And that has been Miss Amy's promise to us for quite a while now. and she is living up to her word. And for all of the national media folks taking pot shots at Amy Adams Strunk, calling her reactionary, impulsive, screw you. She is doing what is best for this franchise, and we saw it again today. It started with Ran Carthon and his forward-thinking approach to front office structure and front office decisions. And it is continuing right here today with an offensive-minded head coach who is a builder of offensive systems, who is a quarterback whisperer, who is going to bring in the most talented staff that he possibly can, not just yes men. This is an incredible day for the Tennessee Titans because of what it means going forward. This team is now back to the future. This team is now modern. This team is now forward thinking. Ladies and gentlemen, we have finally arrived. We finally have a franchise that isn't doing it the caveman way. We finally have crawled out of our football cave and saw the sunlight. Wait, they have fire and water out here. I mean, it was such low-hanging fruit for everyone to hate on the Titans when they fired Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel's a good coach. Mike Vrabel went to the AFC Championship game. Mike Vrabel, number 1 seed. And everybody took their shots. And even the local media turned on the team. Titans fans, I know a lot of you in the chat weren't doing this. I know a lot of you listening weren't doing this. But if you were on Twitter like I was, Titans fans turned on the team. Wanted them to fail, hoping that they'd fail. For what? For what? Because your owner is going to drag you into the modern NFL kicking and screaming? Miss Amy knows what she is doing. Miss Amy has looked around the NFL and said, we are not doing things the way the best teams are doing things. And it is time that ends. We hire Ran Carthon. He installs some of the smartest minds in the NFL into the front office. And Mike Vrabel doesn't like that? Then bye. Give me Brian Callahan all day long. This again, over 1,000 people in the chat right now. Tighten up, ladies and gentlemen. Tighten up. This is a huge day for the Titans. I have waited my entire life since I was an 8-year-old, 9-year-old boy sitting on the floor in an Eddie George jersey watching this team play. I have begged for this team to grow up, to come to the future. And we're here. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm emotional. I got tears in my eyes right now. Like what this means for the Tennessee Titans and what this means for the team that we all love so dearly, that we pour our lives into. I have dedicated my life to this football team. And to see them pay that back to me, unbelievable. This is a new era. This is a new franchise. I'm tired of being the doormat. I'm tired of being a poverty franchise. And Miss Amy is tired of it too. We got William Donovan Levis. We got Brian Callahan and his coaching staff. We got a new stadium on the way. We got the new jerseys. I mean, we got a new front office. What an incredible moment to be a Tennessee Titans fan. What an incredible future this team has with a committed owner, with an intelligent front office, with an offensive-minded head coach who is a builder and an NFL lifer. Brian Callahan, quarterback guru, offensive constructor, Super Bowl pedigree, NFL lifer. I mean, if you're like me and you have seen your Tennessee Titans be the butt of every joke for 25 years, it's coming to an end, folks. It's coming to an end. And the only thing that I can think of is Billy Madison, Adam Sandler. You're all in big trouble now because William Donovan Levis and Brian Callahan are the dodgeball that is coming 100 miles per hour at your face. This is huge. This is huge. So I could be on here all night, ranting, raving, and partying with you guys. I appreciate you all so much. You won't ever know. Hit subscribe. Stay subscribed. Throw a thumbs up. Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round. Emergency episodes on the weekends. I never sleep, and I never will, as long as you guys need some podcast content to step to. Man, what a great day. Brian Callahan is your head coach. An incredible coaching staff is on the way. This is a huge moment for the Tennessee Titans as a franchise, and I'm going to be breaking it down for the weeks to come. That is going to do it, though, for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans. Woo!